Hello and welcome to another live on LinkedIn. I'm Neil Millard, your host, and I help people become IT contractors, and I even help IT contractors with all of that other gubbins that's nothing to do with the actual project at hand. Today, Contractor's Guide to Pensions. So before I forget, let's whiz me up in the corner like that. There we go. You can see the slides again, which is always helpful because if I'm talking about slides, it's if you can see. Anyway, so pensions, what's that all about? So easy. Pensions. At some point you want to stop working, or at least have the choice of whether you want to work or not. And of course, we work for two reasons. Excuse me. We work for two reasons. One of them being because we love it, right? Have a job. And the other one is because they pay us stuff. This funny stuff called money that we then go spend on things to provide ourselves with comfortable homes and food and maybe even holidays and treats. But when you stop working, what's going to happen? That money income reduces ever such a long way. In the UK government provide us with a basic pension, I think they call that, and it's not very much actually, but better than nothing, right? So, you work for quite a long time, and then you might have a pension plan, and then you decide, hey, maybe I've got enough money in my pension pot now that I don't need to work for money. That doesn't stop you from working for fun, of course, but gives you the choice. So what do you need to know about tax? Well, on the way in, the company doesn't pay any tax. You're a contractor. You, as a person, don't pay any tax on it. And so it's largely tax-free to contribute into a pension pot. So there's no corporation tax. This means, as a limited company, I can pay into a director's pension, and that's a legitimate cost to the business, or as tech speak, it's an allowable expense. It means you don't pay any corporation tax. It doesn't count towards your profits. Being put into a pension, and hopefully it will grow and give you the choice to run, as I said. But you do need to calculate your lifestyle after retirement. Your income will probably reduce. After all, if you're not providing any services, can't invoice anybody, therefore there's no income coming in. So you're relying on this pension pot. And according to our research, if you're 66, that might be a long way from now, but if you have a £1 million pension pot, you can draw about 62 grand a year until you're 87. 87 is an arbitrary number, but I'll get more onto age in a moment. And there's a couple of assumptions in there, like 5% growth, and inflation hardly much. Now imagine that the pension pot was only £500,000. This means that you get less to play with. There's approximately 31,000 a year. Now, if you could live on 31,000 a year, maybe that's okay. Your target £500,000, tidy. But if you want the bigger number, the 62,000 a year, then your target should be closer to 1 million. So, what's the downsides? Well, the first one is if you pay into a pension pot, you can't access it until you retire. Excuse me. Now, there are various choices around when you retire, as I said before. So you've got enough money in the pot to then take the retirement. retirement isn't an age. Now, according to the UK government, it is an age. You can't claim your basic state pension until you get to a specific age. But before that, any private pension you might have, which is what I'm primarily talking about, can be taken more or less when you want. I think there's a lower limit of about 50. You must be aged 50 or more in order to release the funds within a pension. But that's it. You can pay in as much as you like. It's tax-free on the way in, but you can't take anything out until you hit the red button, the retirement button. So in many sense, it is a long-term investment. And how long-term depends on when you start. And also, in the olden days, there was this thing called a benefits defined pension. Those have all gone. It's now contribution defined pension. So it's based on what you contribute into it and how well the investments perform over the period of you holding that pension. And that performance then drives how much pension pot you have. So, death kills the deal. I wish I knew what I meant when I said that. Now, what I mean is, I came up with that figure earlier of 87, right? So 87 is an arbitrary number. How long do you think you're going to live for? It's all very well having the pension pot and deciding when to retire. And then there's a definite time between when you retire and when you die. And you don't need much money after you. But to break it to you, you're going to die eventually. Our medical research hasn't quite hit that level. Maybe for our grandchildren, might not be an option. But for now, that money, that pension pot's got to last you from when you decide to retire to when you stop drawing out of that pension. And so that length of time will also vary on how much pension pot you think you need. That £1,000,000, could give you that 60 grand a year, but it won't last forever. That rate, it'll only last until 87, like I said. What if you live longer than 87? You live less. But if you live less 87, then it kind of disappears into a state, or it might just disappear altogether. Depends on what other protections you've got set up. But we're not here to talk about those right now. We're going to talk about life dependency. No, life expectancy. Life expectancy is the right word. So we've got 100 UK healthy men aged 35. And we're going to lose some of them on the way. It's a tough journey. So at age 50, oh wow, that jumped quickly. At age 50, around 97 of the 100 men will still be with us. Yeah, we've only lost 3. So you could retire at 50, and if you've paid into a pension all your life and you're one of those 3, then your family get the benefit of that and not you. So at age 60, we've lost some more of our colleagues, and there's 86 left out of the 100 men. By the time we get to 70, we've lost even more people at 71, and then it takes a bit of a turn. I think the actual age in the UK average is 71 years old for deaths. Some people will live less than that, as we can see. We've lost 29 our colleagues, and some more than that. But around 80, we've lost over half the people we started with, 35. So when I come up with that figure of 87, that's being more on the generous side of life expectancy. But hey, I expect healthcare to improve over the next 30 years. So before I retire, it will be better, and hopefully we will live longer. But that's even more important, to have a bigger pension pot. So when should you start saving for this pension pot? Well, there's a thing called compound growth. There's two things that affect the pension pot. Three things that affect the pension pot. There's how much you pay in. That's the biggest denominator for this thing. If you don't pay much into your pension pot, it's not going to be. The second thing is going to be the performance of the investments that's in that pension pot, which we have little control over, but there will be some growth. 5% a year on average is not. And then the third thing is this thing called compound growth. And that's all about when you start. Now, imagine that we're saving the same amount of money for 5 years at 5%, make things really simple. And we can see how much you've got left at the end of it. So here we are, 5 grand in. Over the period of the 5 years, with a 5% interest rate, we have received £1,416 of that money. So at the end of the 5 years, we've only paid 5 grand in, but it's worth 6,416. You go, that's not bad after 5 years, is it? 28% on the return. But if we take that same £5,000, but instead of giving it 5 years to grow, we thought, hey, we're going to start this thing 5 years earlier. So 10 years ago, we put 5 grand in, and we look at it today, it's now worth 8 grand. Now you're thinking, okay, well, it's had longer to grow. And it's like, well, that's true, but if it was the same rate, we'd only expect a 25% uplift. It would be a similar kind of rate, and doubling that would give us 50%. Twice as long, twice as much, 50%. So therefore, it should be worth 7,500. But no, it's not. It's worth 8,200, and that's because of compound interest. Interest is paid on the interest on top of the interest on top of the interest. Back you far you go. So in actual fact, when we save for 5 years longer, 10 years, we end up with a 64% return on our, whereas we might only expect a 50%. So just to hammer the point home even more, what if we actually started saving 20 years ago? Yeah, we were really wanting to go for that big number. Well, at 20 years, okay, that's twice as long as before, but again, it's not twice as much money because of the compound interest. So we only started with 5 grand right at the beginning, and over the course of the 20 years, it's earned 8.5 grand, which is a 171% overall increase. So it really pays to start as early as possible because you're giving that money a longer time to grow with no any extra part add other than starting earlier. Now there's a cost to this, of course. Some people might say, especially the younger people, well, I want to pay for that holiday now. Like, okay, do that, it's your choice. But just bear in mind that if you leave it to sit longer in a pension, it will grow more than the cost of it right now. And so that's a difficult choice. And some of the choices about being a contractor are easy, and some of them are difficult. The point of being a contractor, though, is that you do get those choices. You get the choices of how much to put in your pension. You get choices of how you get paid, whether it's now or later. You can use that money for holidays. And, as it says there, save for retirement. Unfortunately, the cost of the choices also comes at clients. So we need to comply with laws and regulations and reporting, tax and things like that. But that's okay. I can help you with. And even if you're a contractor now, then we can still. And choices with cash flow. When is your payday? As an employee, you don't get much choice of the matter. Paydays whenever your boss says. But when you're a contractor, you are the boss of your limited company, so you get the choice when your payday is. You like to get paid at the first of the month, great. You like to get paid in the middle, 15th, great. You like to be paid at the end, great. It's to make. As long as you have those invoices coming in and your accounting, where you're recording all of those money flows, what comes in and what goes out, expense, and bear in mind the amount of tax you have to pay on that. Keep it safe until the taxman wants it. All these choices. So are you ready to be a contractor? Or do you want us to help you already? Perhaps you're using an umbrella company and don't have a limited company and you like the sound of some of those choices. Come talk to us. We can tell you how ready you are by looking at our quiz at devopscontracted@scoreapp.com. Show up a thing here, have your details, your name and email so that we can send you the report. More importantly, there's a little gift there as well. And that's all I'm going to yabber on about today. If you've got any questions, either put them in the comments below and we'll get to them. And you can also come and join us on our Slack. We're happy to answer questions. And there's other things going on as well. Tuned in for workshops and more lives like this. So till then, see you soon.